Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Phillies Daily on the FanArc Podcast Network. I am your host, Chris Moore, and the Phillies get a 3-2 win against the San Diego Padres last night. A lot of good signs, a lot of positives out of last night. A really good start from Aaron Nola. We'll get into that. Bryce Harper hits a two-run home run. Brandon Marsh goes 4 for 4, and the bullpen gives you a really, really strong 4 innings off of Nola's solid start. 3-2 win. The Phillies win another one-run ball game. It's not going to do much for the run differential and the expected wins and losses stats, but wins are wins at this point, especially in this log-jammed National League wildcard race, and especially when you can beat a team that's in that race with you. Padres now tied for the first wild card spot, and even then, that's just a half game ahead of the third wild card spot, and the Phillies are a game out of it. So, Phillies right in the thick of this thing, but so are several teams across the National League. I believe if my math was right, there's about 8 teams within 2.5 games of each other. Maybe it's 3.5 for those 3 wild card spots. So it's an absolute logjam right now. So every win is important, and especially when you can get them against the teams that you are competing with for one of those wild card spots. And obviously the Padres are one of them, and the Phillies get their 4th straight win against those Padres. I mentioned Bryce Harper's 2-run home run in the 4th inning it was to tie the game at 2, and then the Phillies able to scratch another one across based off of a Bryce Harper walk in the 6th inning, which is what ultimately put them ahead 3-2. And the bullpen was really, really good. Jose Alvarado, Ryan Kirkring, Brad Keller, and Joanne Duran all working through 1 inning apiece pretty seamlessly, pretty flawlessly. One of the things that I wanted to touch on that I was really surprised by, the Padres in that 6th inning, the Phillies had first and third, Harper on third, Marsh on first. And I felt like the Padres were saying something about how they felt about the Phillies bullpen. And I might be overthinking it a little bit, but, to me, the fact that in today's day and age, I feel like the infield is in a lot of time in that situation. In a 6th inning, you're in the second half of the ball game, um, in a tie game with a runner on third. I feel like a lot of teams in that situation are moving the infield in, trying to cut that run down at third, especially with it being Bryce Harper, who's not, really fleet of foot. At least the corners in and maybe the infield halfway or something like that. But the at least the middle infielders were straight up. Borgarts was back near the grass, and obviously they roll Alec Bowman to a double play, but the Phillies pushed that third run across. And I just was surprised to see that. Like I said, I think if Bogarts is halfway, Bogarts is a good shortstop. He's got a solid arm. I think they'd had at least a shot to cut down Harper at home. And I understand too. There's the thought that if you play the infield in, Bohm's ground ball could theoretically become a base hit, and then you open up a potential big inning, a crooked number, and instead of 3-2, it's 5-2, right? And I understand that logic, but it's just not a logic that we see much anymore in baseball. They're trying to cut down every run they can because every run is difficult. Probably more often than ever, runners on first and second, nobody out, teams aren't scoring because of strikeouts and low batting averages. And so I just was surprised to see that. And I thought, if anything, it said how the Padres felt about this Phillies bullpen. And I've mentioned the struggles and just kind of the inconsistency. But the Phillies were in a spot. I feel like they have 4 guys that they really trust, which is the 4 guys that they threw out over those last 4 innings. And they all stepped up to the plate, and each got their 3 outs apiece. And obviously the Phillies got the win. But I was surprised by that. And yeah, I think it says something about how the Padres feel about this Phillies bullpen. And it'll be something that, if we get a similar situation over the course of these next 2 games between tonight and tomorrow, it's something that I'll definitely be paying attention to, just how the Padres, react in those situations, given that the Phillies, bullpen was very good last night. And, are those guys available? Is all 4 of them available and whatnot? I don't remember anybody really having too much stress in their innings, but obviously they're not going to be available for all 3 games. So you're going to have to see some different guys. And yeah, curious to see how the uh, how the Padres attack from there. Aaron Nola, his first start actually, I was just looking at some stuff before recording here, and his first start ever on Lou Gehrig's day. Um, he punched out eight, and he had a family member who passed away from Lou Gehrig's disease, so I'm sure it was a special day for him. And then obviously his wife just had their second child, so probably a bit more to that start for Enola than just your typical start in June against a team you're competing against in the wild card. And so, listen, it was 5 innings. It wasn't anything spectacular. Gave up the home run to Gavin Sheets, which Nola's kind of been the meatball guy, quote unquote. That was a solid pitch. It wasn't a great pitch by any means, obviously, but it wasn't a terrible pitch. I think Gavin Sheets was fooled a little bit, but he did a good job. He kept his weight back and he got the barrel to it. And yeah, it went out of the ballpark, but I think by and large he threw the ball well. Again, punching out eight is nothing to sneeze at, especially you only record 15 outs, so more than half of his outs were punch outs. And yeah, again, I mean, give up 2 runs in 5 innings. I think the Phillies will take that from Aaron Nola. Um, I think if Nola and Painter can both do that consistently with what they're getting out of Sanchez, Christopher Sanchez, who goes tonight, and what they're getting out of Zach Wheeler, and then Luzardo. Luzardo sometimes looks like he can hang right with Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez, and then other times, he hasn't been as good. But I think if they can get 5, 6 innings, 2, 3 runs out of Aaron Nola and Andrew Painter, I think they'll be in a good spot. So yeah, I think they sign up for what Aaron Nola gave them last night, 10 times out of 10. So yeah, this is now his last 11 innings. He's given up 4 runs, but it was all against the San Diego Padres. So yeah, we feel good about Nola throwing against the Padres. We'll see coming up here now what he's going to look like against against some other teams. If this is a sign of who he's going to be the rest of the season, or if it's just hey, he throws. He's got some guys in the San Diego lineup. He's got their number, and that's all it is. We'll see. You see lineup changes here. We didn't see any. I've kind of tiptoed around it. I've mentioned it. I've thrown it out there. I'm tired. Brandon Marsh needs to be in the leadoff spot for this team, at least against right-handed pitching. And this is what number one. This team needs to maximize every opportunity they get to score runs. Brandon Marsh went 4 for 4 last night. One of those hits contributed to a run. One of them. 3 of the 4 times he singled, they grounded into double plays after him. Now, one of the ground balls resulted in a run, one of those double plays, but 3 times they grounded into double plays. Bryson Stott was one of them. Alec Bohm was 2 of them. The only time that they didn't ground into a double play, they just went 1, 2, 3 behind him, Bohm, Stott, and Justin Crawford, and Marsh stole second, so he didn't even give him the chance to ground into a double play. So his at-bats, I don't want to say are being wasted because it did contribute to that go-ahead run in the 6th. Bryce Harper worked the walk. Brandon Marsh got the base hit that moved Harper over to 3rd. And, listen, if he's batting leadoff, that's probably not a hit, right? If he's up with nobody on, the first baseman's back, probably makes that play, probably not a hit. So, but I don't care. Then it's 3 hits. And then he goes 3 for 4. Oh, darn. I mean, a guy hitting like this needs to be hitting in front of Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. Just needs to, has to. And I understand Schwarber and Harper can both ground into double plays as well. But you know what? They're going to hit the ball out of the ballpark a lot more than Alec Bohm and Bryson Stott are. With Trey Turner hitting the way that he's hitting, with Bryce Harper hitting in front of Brandon Marsh, I just think more often than not, Brandon Marsh is going to be hitting with nobody on base in front of him and the guys behind him struggling. 4 for 4 goes to waste when 3 times after that he grounds into a double play. I think Don Mattingly's done a very good job. I think he hasn't been afraid to make changes, even subtle ones. And I understand the logic. You don't want to be lefty anywhere in your lineup, but especially at the top of it. I understand that. But here's my other argument. They've been pinch hitting for Brandon Marsh anyway. Fairly frequently, right? Whether he's batting 4th, 5th, 6th. So what's the difference if he's batting leadoff? Pinch hit for him. So what? I'll take 2, 3 at bats from him. off of a right-hander, hitting in front of Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber over 4 at bats of him essentially being wasted despite his production. Guy's hitting 330 right now. And I just feel like, again, the biggest rationale that I feel this needs to happen is because um, they need to capitalize on every opportunity they have to score. And they don't need to score a ton of runs with the way that this starting pitching is going. You know, a night like tonight against the Walker Buehler with Christopher Sanchez on the mound, 2 runs, you're in great shape. So give Brandon Marsh the opportunity to hit leadoff. And I understand, batting leadoff is different than batting anywhere else in the lineup, but you tell Brandon, don't do anything different. Don't do anything different than what you're doing. Just do that. And this team's probably going to almost double its run production, which isn't very difficult to do right now. But, until you get some other guys in this lineup going, you need to put together your pockets of guys that are doing something and try and squeeze every ounce of runs you can out of them. And right now I just feel like it's kind of going to waste. You have a guy batting between Schwarber and Harper because he hits right-handed and because he's always hit at the top of the lineup and he gets paid a lot of money. uh, I don't care. I don't care anymore. We cannot waste opportunities. And Brandon Marsh getting 4 hits is 4 opportunities to score runs, and we ground into double plays in 3 of them. It can't happen. I don't know if this is going to happen. I'd like to see it, though. I'd like to see it be a move that Don Mattingly makes. I know I'm not the only one with this opinion. This isn't some controversial hot take that other people would disagree with. I think a lot of people, at least against right-handers, just let him hit leadoff and let's see what happens. Because I think that last night they maybe scored 4 or 5 runs. Because also, if Brandon Marsh gets on base, now you have a guy that can steal bases. He's not as fast as Trey Turner, right? He's not that kind of base stealer, but he can move a little bit and he can steal a base. So just that little bit of thought in the pitcher's mind, now trying to throw to Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper can make the difference between a curveball being in the right spot or hanging and Schwarber mashing it out of the park. And now it's 2-0 in the first inning. So that's to me the big move that needs to be made. What happens 4 through 9 at this point really doesn't matter because none of them are hitting. So it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it irrelevant. You have 3 guys right now that I feel like when they come to the plate, you can trust. Put the 3 of them in the most ideal positions for their skill set to succeed, and let them go and see what happens. Like I said, I understand some of the arguments against it, but they're not good enough right now. They don't outweigh, in my opinion, they don't outweigh the arguments for it. So that's the lineup change I'd like to see. What else we'd also like to see and what we're going to see tonight, our guy Christopher Sanchez getting ready to go at it. 44 2/3 scoreless innings on the line. Of course, his last outing was against the San Diego Padres team. 7 innings of shutout ball. 5 1/3 is what he'll need to become the 3rd pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball to get to 50 consecutive scoreless innings. It's been... and it was an incredible month of May. They still haven't announced the players and pitchers of the month of May. Jacob Mizorowski was outstanding for the Milwaukee Brewers. He gave up 1 earned run, I believe, and struck out more than Christopher Sanchez. And so he's getting love as the 2 of them are kind of, it's up in the air. And I understand it. To me, the name of the game's runs. Christopher Sanchez didn't give up any. He should get the award. But, a tip of the cap to Jacob Mizorowski for being as great as he's been. But yeah, the guy hasn't given up a run since April. He's going to go again tonight. Now, remember that start in San Diego. Manny Machado hit a couple of balls to the warning track. There was another one, too, that was hit pretty well. I don't remember who that was off the top of my head. But obviously in a hitter's park now in Citizens Bank Park, as opposed to being out in San Diego. So, does it continue? Does he get through this start without a run? I hope so. Be nice to see. Be fun to see him get to that 50 innings mark and go into his next start theoretically with a chance to tie the record with Oral Hershiser. One thing too on that Oral Hershiser mark, that dude threw 5 consecutive shutouts, complete game shutouts in 5 straight starts. And if you want to know how good that is, I understand the game's different nowadays, but there's only been 4 complete game shutouts in all of Major League Baseball this season. And Oral Hershiser went 5 straight. That's absolutely absurd. Christopher Sanchez, by the way, does have one of those 4 this season. So, dude's really, really good as well. But yeah, that's obviously what we're paying attention to tonight. We want to see the Phillies continue to win series. And like I said, get this gettable month of June off to a good start. I think if they can win 2 out of 3 in this series, can build the vibes up getting into this month of June that I think is really gettable. And they could play themselves very much into having one of those 3 wild card spots and feeling confident about having it. So Christopher Sanchez going tonight, Zach Wheeler going tomorrow. Phillies are in a good spot right now to flick a few off here against the Padres and get some good vibes going. As like I said, they head into this gettable month of June, and now it goes with Christopher Sanchez trying to continue this streak. Like I said, 5 1/3, he'll become the first pitcher ever, the third pitcher ever to get to that 50 consecutive inning scoreless mark. And it's only a couple, I forget the number exactly, but it's only a couple innings to be the longest in recent memory. Zach Greinke in 2015, when I think it was 47 or 48 and change in 2015. So, Christopher Sanchez doesn't have too many outs before he matches that as well. So Phillies get a big 3-2 win. Let's all cross our fingers that Brandon Marsh gets the nod in the leadoff spot and we can see something different out of this Phillies lineup. Maybe get Christopher Sanchez some run support and let him settle in and keep the scoreless inning streak going. So it's another edition of Phillies Daily on the Fan Art Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chris Moore. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Hopefully recapping another Phillies win.